All right, the Atlanta Hawks offseason article is up on ESPN.com. Atlanta is the second team in the Eastern Conference to be eliminated in 5 games to the Miami Heat. And it's fitting. Game 5 kind of summarizes the Hawks season this year as far as the inability to kind of take advantage of injuries. No Jimmy Butler in Miami, certainly no Kyle Lowry. I think the Heat had a starting 5 payroll at $25 million, maybe $20 million. When you add Bam and 4 minimums and PJ Tucker, probably a little bit more, probably right around $36 million. And I think it's disappointing concerning, and I know Atlanta had been snake bitten with injuries with Clint Capella and John Collins, but certainly a winnable game in Miami. But life goes on, and now we enter the offseason here as far as for a team that was in the Eastern Conference Finals, spent $300 million in contracts, extensions. John Collins, Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, Clint Capella, the list goes on. And now they are eliminated out of the playoffs. And an up and down year, certainly from a defensive standpoint, probably one of the more, poorer teams defensively here in this league here. And they played better in the second half of the year. I think a lot of it had to be with health. I think a lot of it had to be with, Kevin Huerter playing better. 26 in defensive efficiency, 115 defensive efficiency with Trae Young on the court, 108 when he's off the court. Like, for this team to take a step, 2 things will have to come to fruition. Trae Young's going to have to become a better defender, and that's when we're talking about all NBA players, and he had a dynamic year offensively, but he is such a liability on the defensive end. And Atlanta's going to have to put better, complementary defensive players. Are going to have to make a trade-off as far as offense-defense here. And you basically return the same group. Really the only free agent are, Delon Wright and Timothy Loa Cabaret. Your big offseason question is going to be as far as what you do with Danilo Gallinari, who's got a $5 million guaranteed out of $21 million. And here, the big question that ownership is going to have to ask, and the front office is going to have to ask, is are they willing to pay a luxury tax? Because if you keep Gallinari, who had some good moments for you, you are going to be a luxury tax team unless you are willing to make a deal during the course of the year. And, Gallinari's got, this, guaranteed date. The easy thing is just to cut him, and then you're under the tax, but then you lose a key role player here. Guy who can kind of play forward position. The other thing to keep an eye on, too, what happens with Trae Young. He's got all NBA language in his contract. His salary would go right from 30.5 to 36.6. So if Young makes all NBA, that's another $6 million that's going to be added to your books. And if I've been there. I've been there in Brooklyn. I've said this before, paying the luxury tax, losing in the second round. And what happens is ownership comes in and be like, Andre Karolinko, we got to trade him to Philadelphia. We're not going to sign Paul Pierce. Sean Livingston goes to Golden State. Like, the list of things go on. And I think Atlanta is certainly different because this team is so young, and I think they went through so many injuries this year. But there is a cost of getting to an Eastern Conference Finals and spending and losing in the first round to Miami without their two of their best players. Certainly Bam was still out there, and not getting a Game 6 at home. So that's going to be the big thing as far as what to watch. Gallinari's got a June 29th guarantee date in his contract. 21.5 will become guaranteed. Right now, the 5 is partial and a guarantee here. They go under by 13 if they waive them, and they'll be over, if they keep them. And I mentioned in here the one thing you can potentially do is that you cut Gallinari and then maybe use some of your mid-level on him. Give him a 2-year deal with a player option for year 2. He won't be able to recoup all of it because there's a set-off in there, but at least you can get 6 or 7 more than what he was losing. He's losing 16. He can potentially recoup maybe 7 this year and 7 next year, total of 14 here. So that's going to be the big decision. As far as DeAndre Hunter, he could be the fall guy for all these extensions last year. He's extension eligible. They moved Cam Reddish to the Knicks, basically to kind of free up this, the forward position here to give Hunter more playing time. And there's been some good moments. Certainly we saw in the playing games. And then there's been some average moments here. And I think I'd like for him to take that next step. 4 years, 48 for me would be a number for DeAndre Hunter. And I know wings are paid a premium, but I'm not ready to commit $16-17 million for Hunter. So you have, you've got 9 guys under contract, and Chauncey Brown's on a 2-way, but Kevin Knox, DeLon Wright, Lou Williams, Gorgie Jang, Lawala Cabre. You keep Gallinari, you got your tax mid-level exception. You're not going to use that. The Hawks will not use the $6.4 million with that. But as I said, you're over the luxury tax. You're about 1.7 right now with Gallinari. That goes to around 7 if Trae Young hits All NBA. You go under with Young All NBA and Gallinari is cut. You have your draft pick, which is the 16th pick in the draft. You've got that future first from Charlotte. You have all your first from your own team. Sweet spot contract, 6 players earning between 18 and 2.8 and $18 million. So you have contracts to move if that's what you want to do. Other than that, it's just kind of who they are right now. They've got to stay healthy. They've got to get John Collins back out there. If your big tradable asset is going to be Collins, he'll be going into year 2 of this contract. So that's the Hawks for you, kind of in a nutshell. In large, a disappointment in the whole scheme of things as far as where they were a year ago, and kind of either they kind of I think what happened was they stagnated, and everyone else kind of just got better around them. Certainly took a step back defensively this year. Played better after the second half of the year. Certainly, you win those 2 playing games. You win a great game in Cleveland. You win that game 3 at home to Miami. You laid an egg in game 4 in the second half, and you didn't get done in game 5 without Lowry and Jimmy Butler. So that in itself is a disappointment here for the Atlanta Hawks. But the big thing is going to be keep an eye on that Gallinari contract that becomes guaranteed on June 29th.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.